Cheat Code, Support Strategist, by Clouds. My Head in the Clouds, Not Coming Down, on AO3. Chapter 76, Camp. The sun was barely starting to rise when Class 1A trickled onto the bus to the training camp. There were a few subdued conversations here and there, but people were too tired to make a whole lot of noise. Hitoshi knew that wouldn't last. He'd been on enough normal field trips to know that the bus was going to be absolute chaos by the time they actually got to wherever their destination was. Joy! He really wasn't surprised when Kaminari slid up to him. Hey, did you ever get around to checking out that stream I recommended? Hitoshi glared at him tiredly. A little warning would have been nice. You almost gave Aizawa a panic attack. Kaminari winced, but immediately sent a quick glance over towards Todoroki. So, we're dealing with it, Hitoshi grumbled. Cheat code's constellating, and we've got a plan, so just keep doing what you've been doing. The heroes will get it all figured out. The quiet murmurs of the class went dead silent when Aizawa walked onto the bus and started glaring at them. Good morning, Gremlins. A pathetic chorus of good morning and grumbles that were probably supposed to mean something like that echoed through the bus, and Dad rolled his eyes. I hope you can muster up a bit more enthusiasm for the actual training part of this camp. Otherwise, you're going to have a very hard time. But whatever. Try not to explode anyone's eardrums, don't stand up. And, oh, right. All technology, including our cell phones and video game consoles, need to be turned off and put in here. What? Mina grabbed her phone to her chest. But it's just for security reasons, Aizawa said, handing the box to Ida to pass around. Do I need to remind you that you were just attacked 2 days ago? We need to make sure the villains can't hack your phones to find the camp's location. Now, get to work, and if I hear anyone bribing Yaoyorozu, I will expel you. Understand? There was a loud chorus of grumbles this time, but all it really took was about 15 minutes for everyone to turn their phones in and get on their way. Even though it was almost impossible that the League would attack twice so close together, there was still a chance the League would try to contact Todoroki during the training camp, and considering that most of their time spent together on game streams, they'd figure that if Shigaraki was going to reach out, he'd do it digitally. The plan was to leave all students' phones at UA, so they can't be used to find the camp, while also letting Nezu keep a convenient eye on the devices. If a tech from Shigaraki happened to come through, the teachers, on the other hand, had been given 3 different backups to be able to connect to the school, just in case. Hitoshi had been expecting Todoroki to have more of a reaction to having his phone confiscated, but he was just exotic enough that it wasn't too odd. The people who seemed most upset about the new phone rule were Mina and Kaminari, which checked out, and oddly enough, Mineta. Hitoshi wrinkled his nose in disgust. Maybe this was for the best. He didn't really want to know what the grape stain had planning on his phone during the camp. The labs were cramped now that the entirety of Class 1F were there with all their bags for the whole week. The labs were decently large, so it wouldn't have been so bad if their tables hadn't already been filled with all new fun material and projects they would be working on during the training camp. Izuku hovered by Mei's table, moving their bags away whenever it seemed like something was about to explode. They'd made Eraserhead promise to let them know if anything bad happened, but Izuku had helped make the plan to keep 1A safe, so he just had to trust that Hitoshi and Ochako would be fine and focus on doing what he could to stop the League, which was perfecting his tracking program and finding Kurogiri. The door to the lab opened behind them, and Power Loader walked in, followed by Dave Shield and Melissa. Mei was too busy tinkering to notice, but Izuku's face lit up when he saw them, and they smiled back, making Power Loader sigh when he noticed this week was going to be so much fun. Izuku could already tell. When they got to the front of the room, Power Loader turned around. Class, I would like to introduce David Shield and his daughter, Melissa. Both of them are inventors and support technicians on I Island, and I encourage you to listen to their advice. You'll learn a lot from them. Now, I'll get to the basic logistics out of the way. How many of you had been wondering where you'd be sleeping? The entire class rose their hands. To Izuku's surprise, Paraloto smiled. There's a tradition that happens every year during the workshop, meant to help spawn creativity and help you all think outside the box. UA's a big place. Long story short, you're allowed to sleep anywhere. That got May to look up. Anywhere? Paraloto nodded. Anywhere. Nezu sometimes give prizes for ingenuity. Make sure you stay safe. If you're somewhere you could fall, then you'll have to either move or prove that you're properly secured. And that being said, setting up camp is your first task of the day, because we need space in here to do actual work for the week. We'll meet back here at noon. Don't be late. Izuku and Mei looked at each other with matching grins. They were right. This week was going to be a blast. As they fouled off the bus, Hitoshi glanced over to Ochako. They'd been so busy planning for the camping trip and figuring out what to do about Todoroki that they never actually got a chance to pull her aside and talk to her about what had happened at the mall. And now they were going to be around all their classmates for a whole week. Hitoshi sighed. He'd probably already missed his chance. Aizawa had been talking to a couple cat-themed heroes and a kid that had gotten out of the car shortly after they pulled up. But he turned back to the class before anyone had the chance to wander off. Hello, everyone. I'd like you to introduce to a few heroes that you'd be working with this week. The hero with brown hair started the official introduction. Lock on with those sparkling gazes. Surprisingly cute, with cat-like. The blonde one added. They finished together. The Wild Wild Pussycats! Hitoshi felt a chill run down his spine when Dad smiled. They're here to make sure you get whipped into shape. Lunch is at noon, and that gives you about 3 hours. Good luck. What do you... Kaminari started, backing back towards the bus, when the ground started moving underneath them. What the... They were swiped off the cliff, and Hitoshi scrambled to get a hold of anything. But nope, he really should have been suspicious when Dad had told him to pack his capture weapon in his backpack, and not his duffel. Most of the class were groaning when they reached the bottom, but Yariozu immediately jumped into action. Is anybody injured? There was a quick shuffling as everyone checked themselves over before they heard Mineta screaming, and everyone looked over to see giant monsters looming over them. Okay, yeah, Aizawa was definitely planning on putting them through the ringer. Tomura didn't like the new recruits. If he still had any say in anything, he'd turn pretty much all of them away and call this whole attack. But he wasn't stupid enough to think that would do any good. The League had launched an entire attack without him, so why in the world would they just stop one just because he said so? The new batch was even worse than the ones he had met before the mall attack, though, and 5 times more annoying. Sure, Mustard, Mang, and Compress were kind of on par with Dabi and Toga, but Tomura still didn't think they needed to be villains to accomplish their goals, especially not Mustard. All for One was probably ecstatic about his addition, though. Kids were easier to manipulate. The one he really hated, though, was Muscular and Moonfish. There was no doubt that they were perfectly happy being villains, considering their goal were quite literally just to kill people. And maybe Tomura was being judgmental, but those didn't seem like worthy goals. They were selfish and short-sighted, like a druggie always looking for their next hit. And in this case, their drug of choice was other people's suffering. He locked himself into his room pretty soon after the Vanguard Action Squad had shown up to prep for their big attack, and had basically spent the whole time playing video games by himself. Thankfully, he didn't have to participate in this one. He didn't even want to imagine how awkward that would be if he'd happened to run into Todoroki. Actually, it will still be hella awkward because he still streamed with the guy. Well, hopefully, if Todoroki ever decided to talk to him again. But whatever, he could handle playing video games alone if it meant that he didn't have to deal with bloodthirsty serial killers like Muscular and Moonfish. Tomura froze, hardly noticing when an enemy killed his character, as he came to a realization. That was who All for One wanted him to be. He wanted him to be just like Muscular and Moonfish, a tool that enjoyed bloodshed and murder just as much as these two did, so that Sensei could just point Tomura in a direction of someone that he wanted dead, and they'd be dust before the end of the day. It was what he had been going for ever since Tomura was little, and it was the same goal he had for Muscular, Toga, and everyone in the league. He couldn't stay here. He needed out. ASAP. And if getting out meant throwing his dear sensei under the bus, then that sounded even better. Shinso said, and I quote, "His dad smiled. When dad smiled, dad," referring to Aizawa. I'm sorry, but if in your own little head you're referring to the person not as my guardian, my adult, but as dad, are we gonna touch upon that, Shinso? I mean, you already called him dad outside. So I'm just saying, stop fighting it and just accept the found family. Accept it. Let it breathe within you. Let it flow within your body. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, that end paragraph POV with Tomura, oh my god, I wonder what he's gonna do. My whole big thing was that he was going to tell people about the whole planned attack, and if so, is he gonna text, like, Todoroki or something, and then, you know, Cheat Code's gonna see that, or Nezu's gonna see that, or, you know, one of the adults is gonna see that and be like, oh my god. And, I don't know, Tomura's like I don't know, I feel like it'd be along a, I don't know how to apologize. Never had to do it. Okay, because I was playfully playing with the fact that I was quote-unquote typing, I accidentally actually pressed the button and ended the recording. That was funny. Here, I have my fake keyboard. I'll do it with my fake keyboard. I've never had to apologize before. This is the first time, but I just have to say I'm sorry. I didn't know that the league was gonna attack the mall. That was never supposed to happen. I was literally just there for a game and to clear my mind. I've been thinking about everything that chat has said and everything that I've seen around, and I don't want to be a villain anymore. I feel trapped. And if I don't tell you this, I feel as though I will never be able to get I don't know, something like that. Just typing a whole apology or something. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's either gonna be that or just like a, hey, so, just letting you know, your class is gonna be attacked. I don't actually want to be a villain. Please help me. Something like that, you know, like, I don't know, something. I'm gonna put this fake keyboard away. It's not even a fake keyboard, it's just a keyboard that I haven't had attached to anything. Because I used to use that keyboard for something else, but then I got a laptop, so I don't need a keyboard for my tablet. Don't ask. I used to use my tablet as a quote-unquote PC. It was not a PC. The dark old days. I used to stream on that thing. God damn. But yeah, I wonder where this is gonna go. Clearly, we're going towards a Tomura redemption arc, and I'm here for it. Clap, clap, clap. I'm here for it. I'm listening to one of Kat's Podfics. What was it called? It started with an R. Hold up, let me open up my YouTube. It started with an R, and it has to do with like Izuku and Tomura, and it's a bit of a redemption. At least it's heading towards that direction. Reconcile. I'm in actually chapter 9. I'm like a good 20 minutes in. I had to pause it and obviously record my recordings today. And stuff like that because I have responsibilities. As much as I would like to sit, do nothing, and listen to Podfics all day, that is not an option. I also had to write a script for a certain thing I'm working on. The secret project, which might not come till next year. And by next year, I mean like 2-3 weeks, unfortunately, because one of the people is currently visiting family, which is disappointing. But not disappointing. I mean, like, I'm happy that they're visiting family, but like, really? I'm joking. It's just, you know, kind of hard to schedule stuff around when one of us is, you know, all the way in a different time zone, 8 hours ahead of, you know, the rest of the group, you know, kind of stuff. But yeah, as always, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.